He's to the 5. He's into the end zone. Touchdown.
All right. We got my man Curtis Martin joining us today on Keep It 100. We're excited about having him. He is a Hall of Famer. He's an amazing businessman, and we're gonna dig deep. We're gonna see how deep we could go on Kurt and see if we could pull some secret information out of him.
I would just hit the stage with the live and set. Me and my guys would get hype and wreck the club. Promoters quite upset we riot, yet they still would write the check. Then I collect and call up my connect, and I'd invest into that hydro. Yep, I get the finest wet. Then I would let my girlfriend bag my work, then she would try it next. She getting highest pilots flying jets.
You guys know this is New York City FCA. I'm the ministry advancement guy, Frank Reynoso. My man Manny Maldonado's with us. He is the New York City director, and we have our longest standing board member, Christina Milano. Yeah, Milano. You know, so we represent him right now. Christina lives in Battery Park area. She's in Cape Cod right now, chilling. I know Kurt has played for the New York Jets. He's from Pennsylvania, but you know, we got to show him love. He's all up in the city right now. I think he's on the island right now. I'll let you guess which one. And Manny, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we do with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in New York City?
Man, well, hey, first and foremost, man, thank you so much, Curtis. And here's what we do, man. We love coaches, man. The two most powerful words in the English language, a coach says. And we want to be able to come alongside the coaches, encourage them in their faith journey so that they can grow in their relationship with the Lord, so that they can impact the athletes that they have the privilege of walking through life with every day. That's the heartbeat behind FCA, New York City.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
So we've been rocking hard for like the last 6 years. Our ministry's over 60 years old, and a man named Don McClendon, who met with a guy named Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey got Jackie Robinson into the major leagues, and Roberto Clemente. And so, you know, Don McClendon was talking to him. He said, let me get 5 minutes. And, you know, it turned into a 5-hour meeting that turned into over 5 decades now of ministry. And we've been blessed to work with some of the amazing athletes and coaches. And so, Christina, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? We're gonna talk about business and work today. And I've been downtown with Christina. She's like the working girl, you know what I'm saying? She got her fly dress on, her sneakers on, cutting through traffic, got the red lights timed perfect. She came out in the Forbes magazine. We talking about business, Kurt. She was top 30, under 30 in the Forbes magazine. So I know man.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna hire Frank as my agent. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yes, ma'am. Tell us a little bit about what you do, and then tell us a little bit about Curtis.
Absolutely. So my background is I work in sports marketing. I love helping athletes off the field grow their brand and business. And part of that is, you know, when I started out in the industry, I wanted to combine two things that I'm most passionate about: sports, athletes, kids, and God. And so I was like, what's an organization out there that I can get a part of and give back through my passions and talents? And so I stumbled upon FCA and realized there wasn't a New York City chapter. So somehow got connected to Frank through God, and here we are today. So it's been an honor to be a part of the team, and also an honor to have you with us today, Curtis. I'm a second-generation Jets fan, so it means a lot even to me personally. And to my dad, it's his birthday. To him, shout out to my dad, who's also a friend. Yeah.
You're gonna bring that out.
Exactly. I got to tell him about this call after. It's really great to have you with us. And for those who don't know, shame on you. No, I'm kidding. For those who don't know, Curtis Martin, Hall of Fame running back. I think you're still the all-time fourth-leading rusher in the league. And despite what you did really well on the field, you also are running strong into your post-playing career. And are a businessman. You have aspirations, we've heard, to be an NFL owner and many other things that hopefully you can share a little bit more and inspire us with today. So thank you for coming on, and it's such an honor to have you.
Well, thank you, Christine, and thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
My pleasure.
Kurt. All right, Kurt, we're going to hit you with some rapid fire questions. Don't be overthinking this. We want you to come straight, live and direct, baby. Let's go.
All right.
You ready?
All right. First thing that comes to my mind.
All right. Your favorite athlete of all time?
I would have to say Roger Staubach.
Woo, Roger the Dodger.
Most people wouldn't know that. It's mainly because of what he did with his career to position himself for after his career. That's why he's one of my favorites.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Favorite cartoon or superhero?
Bugs Bunny. I grew up on Bugs Bunny. That's my guy.
Yeah.
What's up, Doc?
What's up? What's up, Doc? You know what's up. Favorite meal, Kurt? I know you keep in shape, baby.
Nah, I love crab legs, man. Crab legs, and I'm a connoisseur of pizza. When I went to Italy, that was the number one thing I wanted to do was to find the best pizza in Italy.
I'm feeling you. And you got to meet the Pope, didn't you?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Favorite borough or area in New York City?
I'd have to go with Brooklyn. I don't even know why. I just like Brooklyn. Brooklyn just seems like a place that I would live if I wasn't living out here in Long Island. You
got to believe the hype. Brooklyn is in effect, no doubt. Best sport moment you were involved in?
Best sport moment was when we went back on my rookie year to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm from Pittsburgh, so the Steelers are like gods in Pittsburgh, and to play against them for the first time, that was one of my favorite moments.
Wow, awesome. Hidden talent nobody knows of?
What nobody would probably ever guess to me is that I am a phenomenal cleaner. I can clean better than most housekeepers, and you know. I was raised to keep everything really neat and clean a lot. And so, you know, we just moved into a new house. I'll come over here and I'll clean the whole house, man. I enjoy cleaning.
COVID-19 certified. I hear you. What's your favorite movie, Kurt?
Scarface 2, without a doubt. That's what I can watch that over and over again.
Say goodbye to the bad guy. All right. Favorite sports team?
Jets. I got to go with the Jets.
All right.
Patriots second.
Yeah, I like that, boy. I'm gonna put that somewhere. Favorite coach of all time?
Bill Parcells. If it wasn't for him, I don't even think we'd be talking right now. He took a chance on me, and that's my guy. He's still like a father figure to me. He was the first man that I ever looked up to and really respected.
Wow, Bill Parcells. Favorite Bible character aside from Jesus?
Joseph. I really like everything that he went through and where he ended up at. And I think he is an amazing story of resilience and perseverance. And I relate to who he is.
Man, you slayed this. One more.
Yeah, he did.
What's your favorite quote?
Favorite quote. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. You know, I'm a big believer that, you know, I don't think, I took a lot of pride in being the same person on the field as I was off the field. I take a lot of pride in being the same person at home as I am on TV. You know, the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Say that thing one more time.
Throw the horn on it.
Yeah, the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
I'm feeling that. Let's go.
I'm waiting for that, bro. That was great rapid fire, man. Now we're going to slow it down a little bit. Man, I heard you got involved in football late in life. Why?
Number one, because I didn't like football. I didn't like playing football. Number two, because I was forced to play football. My senior year, you know, I grew up in a horrible environment, one of the worst places in the country. And a lot of my friends and family members were getting killed. My senior year, my childhood best friend, there was this little place we all used to hang out. A guy thought he was someone else and rolled up in a car, jumped out with a shotgun, shot him point blank range in the chest, blew a big hole in his chest with a shotgun. He ran about 50 yards and collapsed and died. My mother came to me and said, look, I don't care what you do, baseball, basketball, football, glee club, whatever, join the band, but you have to do something to stay out of the way a little bit after school. And so football was just the natural thing that, you know, I felt most comfortable doing.
What's up, man? Did you think about playing in the NFL at all?
I didn't really see the NFL as anything realistic. I didn't even see college as anything realistic. You know, I played that senior year of high school and ended up earning scholarships all over the country. And, you know, I'm sitting there like somewhat not mad or disappointed, but really didn't want to go to college because I just never had thought about it. And after going to college, I never really even took football serious. Like, I was the guy who wouldn't lift weights. You know, I wouldn't work out. I didn't do any extra running or anything. I did the minimum just because, you know, I just wasn't into it. And at some point, I ended up getting myself together and got my head on a little straighter and began to commit myself to football.
Man, that's awesome, man. I would say, you know, because we went through this in the rapid fire, they asked one of my questions, so I had to come off the top because we keeping it 100 right now. Oh, man, who would you say, you know, I had the privilege of just hearing your Hall of Fame speech, man, and who was the most impactful person in your life?
My mother, definitely my mother. This woman is definitely my hero. I've seen her go through hell and high water just to raise me. I mean, her goal was just to keep me safe. You know, she still tears up to this day when she thinks about some of the stuff that she had to put me through as a kid. When I was 6 years old, we were so poor that she couldn't afford to pay the babysitter $10 a day. And so she would have to leave me in the house at 6 years old. I have a 6 and an 8-year-old now. I can't imagine leaving them in the house till 8 or 9 o'clock at night until my mother came home from work. And that's what I had to do most weekdays. You know, it was like a project environment. So we would all walk to school together and we'd all walk back to school from school together. And what I started doing at 7 years old, because I was just afraid and petrified of staying in the house by myself, I started peeling off from everyone on the way home from school. And I would go to the grocery store, stand outside and ask, you know, an old lady or old man, could I help carry their groceries to the car? I would knock on random people's door. I mean, like in today's time, you know, that's so dangerous, but, you know, we didn't even know it back then. I'd knock on their doors and ask if I could rake their leaves or shovel their snow. And by the time I get home, I'd have about $8 to $10 and have enough to pay for my own babysitter. So, you know, that story still kind of breaks my mother's heart. I just saw her go through so many things just to, number one, keep me alive. When I was 9 years old, I've told the story how my grandmother, she was like my second mother. I was just as close to her as I am my own mother. And we walked in, we found her murdered with a broken neck, eyes wide open, a butcher knife going through her chest, out her back, blood everywhere. And my mother had to literally see her own mother lying there like that and, you know, stay strong and still do what she needed to do for me. So I take my hat off to my mother. That's my hero.
That's what's up.
It's deep, man.
That sounds, yes, very deep. And, you know, it's beautiful that you have a mother that, you know, was the rock for you and was able to look out for you and give you a path and motivate you and encourage you to get to where you are now. If there's anyone else, it sounds like in the environment in which you grew up, maybe sometimes family wasn't always only flesh and blood. Sometimes it was a friend, or was it a teammate once you got on the football team? Is there anyone else that you would say was, you know, around you at that time in your life?
You know what? I guess the only way I can answer that question is almost like it was like nobody and everybody at the same time, because one of the things that I learned early on was that there were no examples for me to follow. I didn't see anyone in my environment that I wanted to be like or that I wanted to, you know, admire because everything was so negative. I grew up in a very gang-infested, drug-infested environment with a lot of crime and a lot of guys who were doing, you know, and most of my friends, I put it this way, are either dead, shot, or in jail, you know, and so I really had to learn in reverse. You know, I had to listen to my mother, deal with the blows as they came, but I feel like I learned most of the things that I know today in reverse because everything that I saw everyone else doing, I learned from them because I just went in the opposite direction.
That's so crazy, right? Because they always say it takes a village to raise a child. What about when your village is whack? You know what I'm saying? You got to figure it out, and it's like nobody but everybody. I like that.
Yeah.
And Curtis, you have a doctorate in something that maybe most people wouldn't, and I feel like perhaps the stories you're sharing with us was part of that. Tell us a little bit about that amazing accomplishment, also what your foundation is about.
Yeah, well, the doctorate came from Mount Sinai. I worked with them on a project, and revolutionize is too big of a word, but I somewhat changed the way they were doing a particular thing, and they wanted to award me an honorary doctorate degree for it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm proud of the
You should be. You got way more degrees than I have.
Because I didn't get my degree from college. I left college early to go into the NFL, so I'm proud of the doctorate.
Awesome. And how about some of the other business ventures that you're focusing on? Can you share about any of them, or at least the genres in which they're in?
Yeah, I'm very entrepreneurial, and I have I'm in several different industries. I'm in biotech, I'm in fiber optics, I'm in private equity, I'm in insurance, I'm in tech. You know, I'm involved with a lot of different things, you know.
Diversification is the name of the game, but an interesting TED Talk I stumbled upon called "The Problem with Problems." Is that right?
Yeah, the problem.
What's the problem with that? Tell us what.
You know, I believe the fundamental problem with problems is the way we view them. You know, I think we view problems as like this plague or this sickness that needs to be cured, where I've come to understand that, you know, you got to imagine going through all the different problems, and, you know, that's not even half of it. You know, I talked about my grandmother being murdered, but, you know, my mother's sister, who was like my aunt, she was burned to death. And, you know, by the time I was 14, that was the first time I was literally almost killed. And by the time I was 15, that was the first time I had a loaded gun to my head. And God pulled the trigger 7, 8 times, and no bullet came out, and not pointing the gun at me, he pulls the trigger one time and the bullet comes right out, you know? And so I've had more than 9 lives. I've been through my share of problems, and I'll tell you this, I'm extremely grateful for them. I've come to understand that problems are the only reason why I'm where I'm at today. I've had to overcome those things, and in overcoming them, it has created this fortitude, this resilience, this patience, this and you know something, when you go through problems and you come out on the other side, there's a certain level of wisdom that you attain in that particular area. And so what I've learned to do is not try to avoid my problems. I embrace them. And, you know, even when I played football, when I was in pain or when I suffered an injury, everyone knew that the doctors couldn't pull me off the field, because the first thing I wanted to do was go back in the game and get the ball. For instance, one day I got hit so hard, we were playing the Giants, and my shoulder totally popped out of socket. To this day, I never got it fixed. If I rub my shoulder like this, I can feel the bone still sticking up. And they told me that I was going to have to get surgery and be out for the rest of the season. But I just told the doc, let me go back in. He's like, Kurt, there's no way, you can't even lift your arm up. I said, yeah, but I can move from my elbow on down. So they strapped my arm to my sternum so that it wouldn't move outward. And I went back on the field. And when I got the ball, I'll never forget running up in the hole knowing that I was about to get tackled, and I didn't want to baby my shoulder, so I just took it, and I wanted to see what it felt like to take a hit on it. So I hit a guy with my shoulder, and it was so much pain. But I always felt like if I could get back up from that pain, then I've defeated it, and I shouldn't miss any more games, or I shouldn't miss any more time. So the most valuable asset that I ended up having during my entire career was the fact that I was able to play with more pain than the average individual. Yeah, a lot of guys were more talented than me. They were bigger, stronger, faster, and all that. But it was hard. You'd be hard pressed to find a guy who was tougher than me out on the field, mentally.
Yo, I love hearing about this, man, about those gladiators. And, man, yo, Kurt, you definitely keeping it 100 right now. And, yeah, and just talking about those things, man, just, you know, I think of a lot of times in the church, brothers on the corner, and we always talking about, like, our war stories. Oh, I've been through this. I seen that. I seen this. One of the things we wanted to talk about is business. You've overcome so much. And I always tell people, everybody been through something, but it's like what you've been redeemed to. And I know you're doing some great things. I know, you know, you got to kind of guard some of that. And you might not say everything because some of it is personal. But we want to talk a little bit about business, about work. You know, this COVID-19 has caused a lot of us to have to slam on the brakes, and some uncertainty in finances and all that going on. Man, we want to talk a little bit about that right now. So what are your personal secrets on handling business and success?
My personal secrets. Number one, let me say this. When I played football, my number one goal, like my goal wasn't like to win all the Super Bowls and MVPs and all that type of stuff and Hall of Fame. My number one, and probably my only goal that I had during my career, was to finish my career with a name that was more valuable than everything I made while I was in the NFL. And so for me, you know, I've always protected my integrity, because and I'm very conscious of not compromising my integrity, because, you know, I believe that whatever you compromise to keep, you eventually lose anyways. So I've always made it a point to keep my integrity in business. I think that is one of the most important things, because what I've come to find is one of the most rare assets in all the business that I'm doing now is just trust. It's like trust is one of the most valuable things that has taken me further than just about anything else, because people trust me. They trust my word. They trust that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And they trust that I'm going to be honest. And I found that has made so much of a difference in my business career.
It's good. Awesome.
I mean, have you seen other parallels from the football field or the locker room, or what football has taught you and sports has taught you to business? Obviously, you know, in the boardroom, you're not going to throw in your injured shoulder into a guy across the table. So I'm sure there's other skills that, or lessons you've learned from sports. And, you know, let us in on kind of your process of making that transition, which is one that not every athlete has been able to make. And a lot of people struggle with, even if they don't love their current career path, how do I find what else I'm called to do? How do they make that transition? So I think whether it's an athlete or a student athlete who's not going to go pro, how did you kind of use sports to make that transition to the business world?
You know, I've always viewed football as my training ground. You know, when you go into the Army, the first thing you do, if you want to become a Navy SEAL or a Marine or whatever it may be, you go through basic training. I've always looked at football as my basic training. That was just, you know, a lot of people play their careers and they feel like, wow, I made it. You know, for me, my career was like, okay, now I'm just getting started. You know, that was my basic training. And so I've learned so many lessons through football. football was almost like a third parent to me. It taught me things that my mother, as a single parent woman, didn't know to teach me, you know? And so I'll tell you this, one of my favorite lessons that I've learned in football was one day when I was on the field at practice, and Bill Parcells calls me off the field, and he looks at me and he says, I'm like, what's up, coach? I come off, and he said, son, have you been working hard? I said, well, of course, coach. Like, why would you ask me that? I said, I try to outwork everybody in the building, not just teammates or competition, like secretaries, janitors, you. I try to outwork everybody in the entire organization, coach. And, you know, I said, but why would you ask me that? He said, well, son, as long as you live, never forget this. There's a big difference between routine and commitment. He said, some people do the same routine over and over again. Some people even get better at doing that same routine over and over again. He said, but few people commit to the next level. And that principle right there just stuck with me. And I began to apply that principle to every facet of my life, whether that was mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually, you know, because I think as Christians and as people who pursue God and in our spirituality, we tend to get into this spiritual routine, and we start trying to take our intimacy or our relationship with God to the next level. That principle that I learned in football has been one of the things that fuels my spiritual relationship with God, because I'm always trying to take it to the next level.
That's powerful.
Write it down, fam. Write it down. We're talking to a mentor to mentors. You know what I'm saying? That's why, Tuesday night for a few years was such a blessing as a pastor, as a mentor, and some of the things we do with FCA is just giving and serving. And man, I used to love to just sit back, soak in some of this wisdom from Kurt. And I hope you're getting blessed with this convo right now. We keeping it 100. You got one more question, Christina?
I think so. So, I mean, you talked about the problem of problems. And I think in life, we can all look at it and say, you know what, this is in my path and my story because God's going to try to teach me something to make me better because of it, right? But I think in the business world, there's a whole other set of problems because sometimes we're not applying godly wisdom to the business world. So has there been a scenario where you're like, wow, like my faith and the way that God encourages us through spiritual wisdom, maybe I didn't apply in a certain scenario, or I did apply and it saved me a huge blunder? Like, I think that's something where, problems in business are often sometimes because we're not applying godly wisdom to this.
Yeah. One of the wisest things that I've ever done during my playing career probably caused me to lose more money than I ever have at one time. It was my last year with the Jets, and I had one more year on my contract, but I had suffered a career-ending injury, and I was trying to come back from it. And the Jets still owed me a whole lot of money, not to throw out numbers, but like almost $7 million. They still owe me another $7 million. 6.3 was the exact number. And I knew that if I wasn't playing, that it was going to be hard for them to not only get another running back, but that $6.3 million that's taking up cap space, which is not allowing them to go get other players who could really help the team win. Now, the Jets, when they didn't have to, made me the highest paid running back in the league for every year that I was there, for the 8 years that I was there. And I wasn't the best running back in the league. And so I was very grateful for that. And so at this moment where I can hold the gun to their heads and say, look, pay me my extra $6.3 million, whether I could play or not, because that's what happens in football. That's just luck of the draw. That's just the way it works sometimes. But instead of doing that, I went to the owner and I said, look, man, you guys have been more than good to me. I don't think it's right now for me to hold the gun to your head and say, give me my money. I said, so let's do this. If I can come back from this injury and play on the field, you guys will put some incentives in that will very easily allow me to gain my money back. I said, but if I can't, you guys give me $500,000 as a parting gift, and you take the other money and invest it in other players who can help the team win. Now, look, in that one situation, I ended up losing money in any one situation that I've ever lost money, but I thought it was the right thing to do. And just so happened that, you know, I've always had ambitions to own a team. Because I made that sacrifice, I believe it showed the owner, Woody Johnson, my integrity and the way I do things. There's nothing that I can't ask him for in business. He's been so instrumental in my growth. He actually said, Curtis, I know you want to own a team. Come on, I'm flying to this place. I don't want to mention another owner. He said, I'm flying to this place. Come hop on my plane with me. Let's go meet him. I want to partner you up with this guy so that y'all can own the team together. You know what I mean? And there's been so much that's been worth way more than $6.3 million that have come from that sacrifice. So one of the greatest lessons that I've learned in life is how to make the right sacrifices, because the right sacrifices has the ability to propelling you so far into your purpose.
Absolutely, because you didn't make.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you didn't make God your money, Curtis, and therefore you could see clearly that that was the right thing to do as a man of integrity and a good teammate. And the Jets thank you for it. Fans do.
Well, I'll tell you this. I would rather have what I gained from that sacrifice than to have the money.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, totally.
That's powerful, man. That's a powerful testimony of relationship over just a dollar and just looking to the interests of someone else. That takes a lot of courage to do something like that and trust in the Lord, man. So that's huge. Man, as we transition, man, I'm thinking, how have you maintained between work and business during the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, fortunately for me, most of my businesses are not, I mean, there's a couple of them that involved like, you know, they're like B2C, like, you know, customer oriented businesses where there's a lot of people involved. So the coronavirus hasn't affected me in too much of a way. The only difference for me is now that I'm doing my meetings on Zoom versus in person. That's really been the only difference. Fortunately, you know, I feel very blessed to be in a position where the coronavirus hasn't hurt me too much, because we know that that's not the case for most people.
What would you say, like, what's one word of encouragement that you could give to people at this time?
You know something? There's this one Bible verse that sticks out when you ask me that question. And there's a guy in the Bible named Hezekiah. And, you know, he had gotten sick and he was about to die. And he prayed to God. And God basically told him, you're about to die, so go get your house in order. And there was this period of time that Isaiah had to get his house in order, to get his affairs in order. And I see this coronavirus as a very similar time to that. Now, God ended up extending his life by 15 years, but it was predicated on him getting his house in order first. And so, you know, I look at this coronavirus situation. I think it's put many of us in a situation where there's certain things in our lives that are dying. There's a job, or there's, you know, a certain income financially. I mean, we're experiencing death in different ways other than physical death. I said, but I believe that this is an opportunity to really get your house in order. There's a lot of things that we need to do from a family standpoint, from a personal standpoint. There's certain things within ourselves that we need to work on. I think this is a great opportunity to get your house in order.
It's good. It's real good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yo, man, that's some good stuff, bro. Look, I got a crowd. You hear the crowd? They buzzing, bro. They talking about you, Kurt. Oh man, I wish I had all these sound effects. I'd be a clown going out of control, man. But man, Kurt, yo, thank you for keeping it 100 with us. We got a brother that really started cutting his teeth on the mainstream, on the CHH, the Christian hip hop community, with a group called God Over Money. And he also he started his own record label called Menace. And so he's our special guest. Dayton, where you at, bro? Where's that knock on the door? Come on in, man.
Knock, knock. Pastor, what's up?
Yo, Dayton, Triple D is in effect in the easy New York City. We got to bring it. We got to throw some flavor in here. So after hearing, man, were you blessed with what you heard, man?
Oh, Curtis, super blessed, super blessed. Whole bunch of nuggets. I got my little paper with my pen. He was saying some stuff. I'm like, ooh, got to write that down. Real good stuff.
We talking about nuggets. That was a 20-piece right there.
It was. It really was. I'm super blessed tuning in, man.
Thank you, man. Hey, Frank, are we finished with the questions now, or we still got more? I mean, I'm not in a rush at all. I was just wondering.
Nah, man, we was gonna wrap up and let D do a little something, talk to us. You want to say one more thing?
Yeah. Let me just say something else. Just because it's something that has been really important to me. We talked about my theory of the problem with problems. And, as I said, I think the problem with problems is the way we view them. Because, one of the things is that I think that hidden behind some of our biggest problems are also some of our biggest blessings and some of our greatest opportunities. And I think that a lot of times we never get to experience those blessings and those opportunities because we try to avoid the problem. But what we don't realize in avoiding that problem, we're also avoiding the blessing that was on the other side of that problem. And so I think it's really important that we're careful about the way we view our problems. And there are 5 ways that I begin to look at my problems. And, I think that there are 5 reasons that God allows problems in our lives. And these 5 reasons are things that have shaped the way I live my life and the way I deal with every problem that comes into my life. Those 5 reasons I say that God allows problems in your life is: number 1, to direct you, to inspect you, to correct you, to protect you, and to perfect you. And I've just learned.
Run that back, baby. Run that back. Let's go.
Yeah. The 5 reasons that God allows problems in your life: to direct you, to inspect you, to correct you, to protect you, and to perfect you. I'll just give you a really quick example of that, Frank. When I was coming out of college, I still had another year of college. And the year prior, I only played 1 game and got injured, and I missed the rest of the season. And so when I went to my college coach and told him that I was even considering the NFL, I mean, he just went off. And he said, "That is the dumbest decision." And I was just like, "Well, coach, I'm just coming to you to get some advice because I'm just trying to figure out if I should even attempt going into the NFL or if I should stay in college." "What are you talking about? You can't even survive in college. What makes you think you can survive in the NFL? Like, that is the dumbest decision that you ever could make. And if you are thinking about that, I'm going to go over to the press and I'm going to let them know the bonehead decision that you're considering making." And you know what? I was really just coming for advice. So I just told him, I said, "You know what, coach, you do whatever you got to do." I said, "But thanks for helping me make my decision because I know I'm going now. I'm either going to the NFL or I'm going home, but I'm not coming back here." Now, look, I ended up going into the NFL that year, when nobody thought I would even survive in the NFL, and I won the Rookie of the Year. I went to the Pro Bowl. I actually won a rushing title. The only person who beat me out was Barry Sanders. He beat me by 15 yards. And so what I realized is that problem that the coach put in front of me, you know, and that threat, it put me in a problematic situation where it directed me, because I was just like, all right, cool. I know I'm not going to be here. I'm going in this direction. You know, it inspected me, because it really made me look at myself and say, all right, Kurt, what are you made of? What do you believe in about yourself? And do you believe it enough? Do you have enough conviction to take that leap? So it inspected me. And then it corrected me, because a lot of the reasons why he said I would never make it in the NFL, they were true. I didn't really take football serious. I didn't work out, but I reversed all of that. I became the hardest worker. For me, hard work became the minimum. Like, so I just worked my butt off. And then it also protected me, because just think, if I would have went back to college that year, it just pushed me in the right direction. I definitely wouldn't have been a rookie of the year in 1995. I definitely wouldn't have went to the Pro Bowl in 1995. There's so much, we might not even be talking had I gone back to college that year. So that problem protected me, and it also perfected me. Not in the respect that I'm a perfect person, but in the respect that I believe that life is a constant perfection. The Bible says that God is the potter and we are the clay. And when you look at people, you know, shape the clay on the pot, it's like they're constantly smoothing out the edges and getting rid of the cracks and stuff. And that's what that process has done for me. So direct you, inspect you, correct you, protect you, perfect you. Those are the 5 reasons that God allows problems in our lives.
Big ups, baby. Good looking out, man. You know, I got that. I already got that written. I've actually preached that in my church, baby. You ain't copyrighted. You should learn that in business. I stole it. I used it. I perfected it. I did what I had to do with it, baby. And we're gonna put on the link. Curtis's TED Talk is very inspirational and very encouraging. And we want to tell you out there, coaches, you know, that coach inspired Kurt by just bringing off some negatives, but you also heard the power that Bill Parcells encouraged him. And as Manny said earlier, those words coach says are so powerful. So what are you saying? We want to come, we want to bring you some manna, we want to bring you some truth. And sometimes the truth hurts, but we know that it also liberates, it brings freedom. And man, this brother coming up, also Dayton, we're going to put his information, like for your players to be listening to something that's inspirational, something that's encouraging. Dayton got some flow for you. So D, what you got for us today before we bounce, man?
Hey, so really quick, Curtis just shared the testimony of his college coach. Just, you know, he was asking the coach for advice. The coach shot him down. He felt internally that this was something that he should pursue, and what he was met with rejection. You know what I'm saying? The inspiration behind this piece I'm about to share comes from that. So first, I want to preface it with that, because I don't want anyone to think I'm condoning selfish ambition. It's you trust in the Lord with all your heart, not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, he makes your path straight. And sometimes as you do that, other people want you to lean on their understanding. So they interject. So I get this direction from the Lord. I'm pretty confident I go to pursue. The Bible does say that there's safety in the multitude of counsel. So sometimes it doesn't mean that all the counsel you get is going to be spot on. So they're like, yeah, you crazy. You want to start a business? The inspiration just comes from, I can go get a job but breaking my back for someone else. And it's all thumbs up for that. But as you pursue the things of the Lord, or maybe this direction he's sending you that's not traditional, you know, you'll be met with a lot of rejection. So you hear me loud and clear?
Hey.
The piece I will be sharing with you today is titled My Shot. I'll give you some context afterwards, but check it. I said, since a teen, it has been quite the obsession. With writing, I would invest in all of my time and attention. I was the best in my school. I jump in ciphers and wreck them. When I held the mic in possession, I knew that I was just destined to do this. I would pursue this and treat this like a profession. Some fam ain't like that direction. Though it's my life, they were stressing. They would even fight with aggression. Have you lost your mind was the question. I faced all types of rejection. They gave advice and suggestions. They said, so you truly think you can live off the music biz and do it big? Ooh, that is humorous. Only few have did, you stupid kid. Think of your future. Do something lucrative. Go scoop a gig. You can flip burgers or maybe Uber, Lyft. I told him, you go ahead. You could punch a time clock if you choose. I'll be shooting my shot like swish. Before your boy is dead, body in a pine box, I'll make moves. I'll be shooting my shot like swish. It's adoration, pats on the back, and congratulations when you tell them that you got a job breaking your back and slaving for somebody else. But when you tell them people that you're chasing your dream, they don't react as gracious. No affirmation or ecstatic statements like, that's amazing. They laugh and say that you're delusional. Their doubts will have you doubting that you'll make it. They suggest the path they're taking because that's the safest. But why would I follow them if they themselves have not captured greatness? Their measure of success is different. So they'll send you in directions that have worked for them, but people don't be influenced. People have a fear of failing and they let it cripple them. I won't allow their fear to hinder or stop my attempts to win. You go ahead, you can punch a time clock if you choose. I'll be shooting my shot like swish. Before your boy is dead, body in a pine box, I'll make moves. I'll be shooting my shot like swish. God bless.
Hey, where I get the album at, man?
Everywhere, Spotify, Apple Music. I actually got a new one dropping this Friday titled CHH Ain't Dead. Stands for CHH, Christian Hip Hop is Not Dead. It releases this Friday. So yeah.
All right,
we're gonna put that on our social media handles so you could cop some of that Dayton flavor. Is right on point. Man, thank you so much, Curtis. Appreciate you, Christina, helping me and Manny, New York City FCA. I think about when we talked about business, and I remember the first words recorded out of Jesus' mouth in the Bible. The first words you look through. What was the first thing they wrote down that Jesus said? And he said, didn't you know I was supposed to be about my Father's business as a little kid? And I want all of you to know that you are the Lord's business. He's got his eye on you. Everything is going to be okay in this pandemic. This don't move God. It don't shake him. He's still on the throne. The God of Curtis, the God of Christina, the God of Dayton and their successes is your God, and he's available. So keep coaching. Coach others up in the way that they should go. Father, we pray blessings upon your people, Lord God, upon your friends. Help us to be people that keep it 100 at all times and in all situations. In Jesus' name, amen.